Greetings, friends and speed enthusiasts. Welcome to a new video.
Today, we will review the best qualifying runs of the 10 and 9-second motorcycles, which are the fastest in the 17th edition of the Barranquilla 2024 Carnival Quarter-Mile Drag Racing Cup.
We begin with a duel between Dan Monsalve on the Honda CBR1000RR and Cesar Camacho on the Suzuki GSX-R1000.
Although Cesar Camacho secures victory due to his reaction time, he takes the second position because his elapsed time, ET, was 9.857 seconds. This time is surpassed by Dan Monsalve on his Honda CBR1000RR, who clocked an ET of 9.715 seconds, earning him the first place.
The next showdown features the Ducati Panigale V4 ridden by Ruben Torres against Edward Manzano on the Suzuki GSX-R1000.
Ruben Torres claims victory and the top spot in the 10-second category with a time of 10.244 seconds.
Edward Manzano, aboard his Suzuki GSX-R1000, follows closely with a time of 10.474 seconds.
Next up, we have a duel between two Honda CBR1000RR bikes piloted by Wilson Penzo and Nelson Camacho.
Nelson Camacho records a time of 10.334 seconds on his Honda CBR1000RR, securing the second position in the 10-second category.
On one hand, Wilson Penzo on his Honda CBR1000RR records a time of 10.759 seconds, placing him in fourth position.
Next up, we have a face-off between two Suzuki GSX-R1000 bikes, ridden by Cesar Camacho and Steven Rivera.
Steven Rivera on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 clocks a time of 10.165 seconds, securing the first place in the 10-second category. Following closely in second place is Cesar Camacho on his Suzuki GSX-R1000, with a time of 10.242 seconds.
Now, let's witness a duel between Ruben Torres on his Ducati Panigale and Brian Jamies on his Yamaha MT-09.
Ruben Torres improves his previous record by 116 milliseconds, marking a time of 10.128 seconds and moving from third to first position.
Meanwhile, Brian Jamies on his Yamaha NT09 records a time of 10.934 seconds, earning him the 7th place.
The spotlight now shifts to Leonardo Ruiz on his Suzuki GSX-R1000.
Leonardo Ruiz clocks a time of 10.999 seconds, placing him at the end of the 10-second classification.
Lastly, we witness a clash between the Suzuki GSX-R1000 bikes of Edward Manzano and Steven Rivera.
On the one hand, Edward Manzano on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 improves his previous record by clocking a time of 9.556 seconds. This impressive performance propels him from the 5th place in the 10-second category to the new leader in the 9-second category.
Meanwhile, Steven Rivera on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 also betters his previous record, marking a time of 10.054 seconds and claiming the top spot in the 10-second category.
Next up, we witness a showdown between Lennox Solano on the Suzuki GSX-R1000 and George Carlini on the Kawasaki Ninja ZX10R.
George Carlini, riding his Kawasaki Ninja ZX10R, records a time of 10.729 seconds, securing the 5th position.
However, the Suzuki GSX-R1000 ridden by Lennox Solano fails to break into the 10-second category.
In the subsequent duel, Andres Camargo on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 faces off against Dan Monsalve on the Honda CBR1000RR.
Dan Monsalve maintains his position without improving his previous record, while Andres Camargo clocks a time of 10.121 seconds, securing the 2nd position in the 10-second category.
Now we have a showdown between Edward Manzano on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 and Wilson Penzo on his Honda CBR1000RR.
Edward Manzano on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 solidifies his first position in the 9-second category, improving his previous record with a time of 9.480 seconds.
On the other hand, Wilson Penzo on his Honda CBR1000RR shaves off 8 milliseconds from his previous time, clocking an ET of 10.751 seconds, thus maintaining his 7th place.
Next up, George Carlini on his Kawasaki Ninja ZX10R takes another run.
George Carlini on his Kawasaki Ninja ZX10R improves his previous record by 86 milliseconds, marking a time of 10.643 seconds, securing the 6th position.
Following this, Wilson Penzo on his Honda CBR1000RR makes another attempt.
Wilson Penzo on his Honda CBR1000RR betters his previous record by 11 milliseconds, recording a time of 10.740 seconds, thus retaining his 7th position.
Now, we witness a duel between Edward Manzano on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 and Dan Monsalve on the Honda CBR1000RR.
Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos.
Dan Monsalve improves his previous record by 133 milliseconds, clocking a time of 9.582 seconds, yet he remains in the 2nd position.
Unfortunately, Edward Manzano on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 does not manage to surpass his previous time.
Now we have a showdown between Nelson Camacho on his Honda CBR1000RR and Steven Rivera on his Suzuki GSX-R1000.
Nelson Camacho on his Honda CBR1000RR improves his previous record by 196 milliseconds, clocking a time of 10.138 seconds. However, this isn't enough to move up the ranks.
On the other hand, Steven Rivera on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 does not manage to surpass his previous time.
Next up, we witness an exciting battle between two impressive Suzuki GSX-R600 bikes, piloted by Alvaro Flores and Dan Monsalve.
Dan Monsalve on his Suzuki GSX-R600 records a time of 10.316 seconds, securing the 6th position.
Right behind him, in 7th place, is Alvaro Flores on his Suzuki GSX-R600 with a time of 10.492 seconds.
Now, let's see the clash between George Carlini on his Kawasaki Ninja ZX10R and Cesar Camacho on the Suzuki GSX-R1000.
Cesar Camacho on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 improves his previous time by 127 milliseconds, marking an ET of 10.115 seconds. This propels him from the 5th to the 2nd position.
However, George Carlini on his Kawasaki Ninja ZX10R does not surpass his previous record.
Next in line, Brian Jamies on his Yamaha MT-09 takes another run.
If you're enjoying the video, please support us with a like.
Brian Jamies on his Yamaha MT-09 improves his previous time by 92 milliseconds, clocking an ET of 10.842 seconds, yet he remains in the 10th position.
Next, making another attempt, we witness the Suzuki GSX-R1000 ridden by Dan Monsalve.
Dan Monsalve on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 betters his previous record by 36 milliseconds, marking a time of 10.280 seconds, thus retaining his 6th position.
Now, Lennox Solano on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 takes another run. With a time of 10.923 seconds, Lennox Solano enters the 11th position in the 10-second classification.
The spotlight now shifts back to the Suzuki GSX-R1000 of Andres Camargo.
Andres Camargo improves his previous time, clocking an ET of 10.069 seconds, rising to the 2nd position, trailing the leader by a mere 15 milliseconds.
Next up, we witness a duel between Dan Monsalve on his Honda CBR1000RR and Harold Rodolo on the Kawasaki ZH2.
Although Dan Monsalve on his Honda CBR1000RR secures victory, he does not surpass his previous record.
Meanwhile, Harold Rodolo on his Kawasaki ZH2 marks a time of 10.872 seconds, placing him in the 11th position.
Now we have an exciting duel between Andres Camargo on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 and Ruben Torres on the Ducati Panigale V4.
Andres Camargo on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 does not manage to improve his previous record.
On the other hand, Ruben Torres on his Ducati Panigale does improve, marking a time of 10.048 seconds. This propels him from the 4th position to become the new leader in the 10-second classification.
Next, Leonardo Ruiz on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 takes another run.
Leonardo Ruiz on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 improves his previous time by clocking an ET of 10.865 seconds, moving from the bottom of the table to the 11th position.
Following this, we witness a face-off between the Suzuki GSX-R1000 of Dan Monsalve and the Suzuki GSX-R1000 of Steven Rivera.
Dan Monsalve on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 does not manage to improve his previous record.
However, Steven Rivera on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 improves his previous time by 31 milliseconds, marking an ET of 10.023 seconds, enough to secure the top spot in the 10-second classification.
Finally, closing the qualifying rounds, Cesar Camacho on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 steps up. With a time of 9.313 seconds, Cesar Camacho on his Suzuki GSX-R1000 claims the first position in the 9-second category.
Thus, the qualifying rounds come to an end, and we prepare for the finals, where these motorcycles will face off in each of their categories, vying for the champion trophies. But that's something we'll see in an upcoming video. Subscribe so you don't miss it.
Thus we come to the end of the video. If you liked it, support us with a like and consider subscribing to see more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time.